Welcome to the Heartland Cycling Network, and we've got an exciting show today, and want to introduce Chris Ulane with Free Bikes for Kids. So,
Right.
Chris, tell us what your role is and about Free Bikes for Kids.
So I'm actually, I work for the Trek Bicycle Store, so I'm in the bicycle business, and Free Bikes for Kids is a national charity that collects gently used bicycles, mostly for school-age children, and they refurbish and recondition the bikes to where they're safe and ready to give back to a child who doesn't normally have a chance to get a bike and be able to use that bike and have it as their own. And Omaha was the 18th chapter of Free Bikes for Kids. We were started last fall when Kevin Thompson, the president of our board, met Terry, who is the founder of Free Bikes for Kids. And we said, hey, this would be a great thing to have in Omaha. So I was approached with my knowledge of the bike industry and some of the connections we have through places like the Bellevue Bicycle Club to be on their board of directors and just help get the Omaha chapter up and running. And we had an awesome first collection season last year with a very condensed window, having just started in I believe we did our first get together in July, and our first donation was in at the end of September.
Okay.
So we're much more prepared this year, and we've got a really good plan, and we're hoping to grow each and every year to where we can get more and more bikes back into the hands of the kids that really need them.
Somewhat familiar with the organization because I did volunteer for being a wrench and tuning up and fixing up some of the bikes. But the Free Bikes for Kids, they only collect one time out of the year, the one drive?
Yes. Now we do a collection day for the public to bring bikes in.
Oh, okay.
Now we have a lot of partners, bike shops and other places in the city that will keep bikes that we are gathering through the year. But for somebody, for the public to be like, hey, I've got kids' bikes in my garage that my kids aren't riding anymore and they're just taking up space. We do that one day. This year, that day will be Saturday, October 14th will be our donation drive. And we'll have more details as far as timing. And we're excited this year that Hy-Vee has agreed to be a partner with us. So once we have that list of the select Hy-Vee stores, we think that'll be a really convenient and easy way for folks to bring bikes to us. And then we've got other partners, Chesterman's, who does Coca-Cola bottling, will dedicate some of their trucks to help us move the bikes from Hy-Vee to the facility where we'll actually work on and recondition the bikes and get them ready to hand out. And that handout will be in middle of December.
Okay, very good. So how long has the organization been around, did you say?
I'm not a super 100% familiar with the national. It's relatively new, but it's growing very quickly, and this will be our second year in Omaha. And we have really had a great support from the community. We've had a ton of volunteers. We've had over 480 bikes dropped off last year, and we've gotten tremendous financial support from individuals and families, and we've gotten great corporate support from like MP Dodge and Baxter, donating financial donations of in-kind services like space to work on the bikes. Trek Bicycle, which I'm a part of, we helped get a grant to do some tools and a parts washer, and we're helping them with parts for the bikes. Shields was a great partner for us last year. We had enough money to actually buy some new bikes, and Shields stepped up and allowed us to buy some bikes, actually below their cost. So we were able to not only give away some used bikes, but some brand new bikes.
These are pretty much just, it's the organization for kids, but you do get some adult bikes as well, if I'm not mistaken.
We do, and now the charities that we donate bikes back through, they have to apply, and they have to meet certain, charitable requirements. But we had like Ironhawk Juniors last year, Omaha Home for Boys, Latino Center of the Midlands, Q's Schools. We had a wide variety, and they would basically say, hey, here's the amount of bikes that we need, here's the ages of the kids, so we could match the bikes that we had available to the right size rider. And we find that a lot of these 12, 13, 14 year old pre-teenagers, a lot of them are riding adult size bikes, especially 26-inch wheels. So to have we needed more of those last year than we we realized. And our biggest need last year was for that 24-inch size bike for that 8 to 10-year-old, 12-year-old. Since we try to do the bike sizing based on the height of the child rather than their age.
And I think that's one of the things that the organization has done on the giveaways. Make sure that the bike is fitted to the child pretty
Yeah,
well.
we had so much fun that day. You know, we were just running 100 miles an hour, having 400 bikes go out in a day, and a lot of the organizations kind of said, "Hey, we'll take what you can give us," but a lot of them brought the kids with, and it was really neat to see. A kid that didn't have a bike, or maybe the bike they had didn't fit them anymore, and to spend that time, and we'd have, okay, they're coming in for a certain size bike, and we'd have 20 of those bikes laying out here and be like, all right, what's your color? And they're like, I love purple. Like, great, let's pick out a purple one. And we also had some helmets donated, so each child not only got a bike, but they got a good, brand new, safe and well-fit helmet. And we had a ton of support for people just to help out. It takes a lot of manpower to make this happen.
So I know I volunteered, but there are what other needs are there? When you start talking about, you've got your board, there's 6 people or so, 5 or 6 people that are involved in the organization. But it takes more than that on a collection day. How many sites did you have last year?
Last year we had 6. We used the Baxter dealerships, and then Baxter provided some people. We had some of our, the board members and people that we knew through Free Bikes for Kids volunteered to drive the trucks. So this year having Chesterman's agree to help us with the transport will help. But we need volunteers on the collection day just to man the sites to help us. And Hy-Vee, I believe, is going to help have some of their associates available. We'll need people to help us at the drop-off location so we can sort the bikes by size and kind of condition. And that right now we are hoping that collection site will be the Trek Bicycle Store on Eagle Run Drive. We've been fortunate enough to use some of the big space in their basement to house our incoming bikes through the season. And if we end up outgrowing that space, we have some contingencies to move bikes into some other storage units. We're still working on some of those details, but we'd love to have anybody who wants to come down, even just if it's just for a couple hours, just help become a part of this. So that's the first step, is just getting the bikes
in. You've got to assess them, you got to clean them, and then the people have to take and go through and adjust them and check out, do we need new tires, do we need new inner tubes, is everything working well? I think one of the things the organization does is to make sure that it keeps bikes that may have gone to a landfill out of the landfill, and works on trying to use the bike as best possible. Sometimes you have to part them out, but otherwise they get used.
They do, and that's the true upside of Free Bikes for Kids, is we're taking bikes that would normally either just be sitting in somebody's garage when they could be actively ridden and enjoyed by another rider, keeping bikes out of the landfill instead of somebody just being like, you know what, I don't need this anymore, I'm just going to throw it away. Being able to use that bike if it's in decent condition, maybe it just needs tires or a brake cable or a tune-up or just a good bath with some Dawn and some water, air in the tires. And you're right, there are some bikes that we know are not going to be feasibly repaired to where they are safe, and we will use all the usable components off of that bike, whether it's a tire or a rim or a shifter or a grip or even a saddle, even the reflectors. We'll use as many of those parts to put them in to make a safe bike to ride. And then we'll usually take what we can to a aluminum recycler. So really trying to help the sustainability piece. And at the end of the day, it just allows us to get more bikes back into the hands of kids.
So you have any goals for this year, do you think?
We would love to hit the 1,000 bike mark. That's kind of the benchmark that we would love to hit. It'd be a lot of work. We need a ton of bodies, but to be able to double what we did last year would be amazing.
And somebody, if they're interested in either donating a bike, donating their time, or helping out in any kind of fashion, how would they contact you?
fb4komaha.org. They can like us on Facebook. Certainly can get a hold of me through the Trek Bicycle Store, Omaha Midtown. I can connect with resources. But yeah, anyway, anytime we can get just a volunteer of ours, any kind of financial support, 10 or 20 bucks buys a pair of wheels or a pair of tires that could fix up a bike. And we want those bikes to be as safe and as comfortable to ride as possible, and to really be clean and sparkling, because it is a big deal for that young person to get that bike, because it's their own. It's a big responsibility for them.
That is. So you touched upon a little bit about some of the organizations that have been part of the receiving side. How would somebody, I mean, what kind of organizations would qualify, or would?
There needs to be we only donate through, vetted nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
So we don't really allow private people to be like, hey, I need a bike.
Right.
So we work with child focused charities. And there's an application process through the Free Bike for Kids website that you can say, hey, I want to receive a bike, and then you'll put in the information. And then we want to collect, okay, who are you? What is your mission? How are you going to use these bikes? How are your kids in your programs going to benefit from the bikes? We want to make sure that your paperwork is in play because of the tax implications. We want this to be done through 501c3 nonprofits. And then we just kind of go through and be like, okay, this organization needs 20 bikes, this organization needs 100, and we just kind of match what the ask is from that charity to what we can provide. And I know last year we had charities that wanted 50, 60 bikes. We're like, hey, we don't quite have that many available. We'd rather give a few bikes to as many as we can rather than give all the bikes just to one or two. We really want to impact as many different parts of the community as we can. So sometimes I was like, hey, we can't give you 20 bikes, but we can give you 10. And then, hey, come see us next year, and we'll start that over. So that all happens once we kind of have a better idea of what bikes we have, what size, what quantity.
And for the individual that wants to donate a bike on that donation day, that's coming up in October, is there a tax benefit for them?
There is. So because we're a 501c3 nonprofit, that financial donation and the donation of your bike is tax deductible. And just like anything you donate to a Goodwill or another charity, you can take the tax benefit on the fair market value of that bike. And that's something we can give you a rough idea of.
Well, and I think that's a great benefit, because if you have, let's say, somebody, like you said, a family that's had the kids grow up, and you got bikes sitting around and collecting dust, if you want to call it that, inside their garages or basements or whatever, you want to get rid of it. This is a great way to do that. I mean, there are other organizations out there, but I think Free Bike for Kids is a great way to donate that bike and make sure that it actually ends up that same year in somebody's hands that a kid will actually enjoy riding at.
Right, and that's one of the things we love. I wish we would do more, throughout the year, but by doing one big donation drive and consolidating our resources to turn those bikes around in a matter of 2 to 2.5 months so that we can send them right back out in the community. That's why we try to condense that and make that.
Now, when is the donation day that you actually give the bikes to the
We haven't determined that just yet. Last year it was the second Saturday and Sunday in December. We want to do this kind of time for the holidays.
It's before the holidays.
Before the holidays, so it's about a 2-month turnaround. We're looking at middle of October for the donation, middle of October or middle of December for the giveaway day. So like you said, we want to get these bikes out into the people that are going to ride them. We think Christmas is a great time to do that. And then volunteer-wise, whether you know how to work on a bike or not, sorting, cleaning, taking bikes apart. And then it's a great opportunity if you want to learn bike maintenance. I will tell you, I've been in the bike business. I ride a lot. I know how to read spreadsheets, but I'm not a great bike mechanic. And working on those bikes, it's like, all right, cool. I'm much better with shifters and brakes and derailleurs and truing up wheels. And I've installed a ton of grips, and it's really cool to see a bike come in and just with a little bit of effort. And
it becomes really a very nice, clean, bike, and gets a second life.
It does, new tires on it. And we've got some volunteers that have worked in bike shops that will be there to help and do final safety checks. So we do have certified mechanics. We've got some paid positions with the financial donations that we get. Some of that is used to actually create some paid positions. So folks that have bike mechanical experience that want a temporary job before the holidays, we we make that work, and we're super flexible on the scheduling. So a great mix of some experienced people and, you know, a chance to teach some inexperienced folks some new skills.
Yeah. I know I took my personal experience of working on bikes, and, well, truth be known, I did work for Chris at the Trek store for a while as a service
a lot of
tech,
bikes.
and put together a lot of bikes and tuned up a lot of bikes. So it's one of those things where I felt, you know, hey, I can give back to the community. And it was very rewarding for me. I really enjoyed doing that. So I encourage other people that if, you know, you have the desire and skill, you know, volunteer. It's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And the cool thing is kids' bikes aren't that complicated.
No.
So it's not like putting together, you know, a high-end carbon fiber triathlon bike where everything is very difficult. Kids' bikes are pretty forgiving.
Yeah.
And I know I blew up a couple tubes last year. I cut a couple cables the wrong size. Not a problem. You learn, and that's how you gain those skills. So.
Well, and the number of people that are usually working on the bikes, there's always somebody there that knows a little bit, that can answer a question if you're stumped on something, that can help you out.
Right, and that's one of the things we really try to do on, you know, where we set up shifts, and we try to make sure that when we're there working on the bikes, that we have somebody who's a really good technical, mechanical person that can come over and show you how to do that job, or answer that question, or verify your work. But even if it's just cleaning the bikes and sorting and, you know, helping us, you know, inventory parts, there's something for everybody who wants to come help out.
Yeah, and I know some of the bikes that I worked on, they were like Strider bikes.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have pedals, and they were brand new.
They were. Strider has been an amazing partner for us. What Strider has done, and we've actually got 5 pallets, so I think it's over 200 Striders coming again this year. We're unloading those tomorrow. They've got some bikes that were overstocked and returned orders, or maybe some of the boxes got damaged in shipping, so they can't be sold at retail. They were kind enough to donate those to us, and we are working with Target, who has reached out and said, hey, we get a number of bikes returned at the stores for very simple reasons, like a flat tire, or it was the wrong size, or the kid, you know, maybe the recipient didn't like the color. So because it's been previously sold, they can't really resell it. We're really excited that we're going to get some awesome, really good condition bikes to help us meet our goals. And
just so everybody knows, a Strider bike is basically a balance bike. It's really an intro bike for young kids to get to, let's say, propel themselves, ride, get used to balancing on a bike, and then they can transition to a regular bike that much easier.
It is. The balance part is already there. It helps a young rider go from a small bike right through the training wheels and be ready to ride that larger size bike. And it's amazing, if you've ridden the trails at all, you've seen some of the kids on these little foot-powered bicycles, and they get the hang of it super quick, because these are typically kids as young as 18 months can try it on these. I see a lot of them that by the time they're 2-3 years old, they're ready for that first pedal
Right, and
bike,
they usually skip the training wheels.
They usually do. The hardest thing I've seen with the Strider bikes is that they're not used to pedaling and braking, so it's not the balance is the hardest part. It's starting and stopping, but kids usually pick that up super quick.
Yeah.
So it's a really neat thing, and it allows us to get bikes to kids that maybe are like, I'm not ready to ride a bike, but I'll push that pedal power, that foot-powered Strider around until I'm comfortable. So we're really able to meet the demand for those really, really young riders that are just getting into it, to that 12, 13, 14-year-old per kid who may use that bike to get to their first job or get to school. And that's where collecting some of the hybrid and mountain bikes for adults is really useful for us.
Right, the adult size bike.
Yep. And then we did have a number of adult size bikes last year that were, you know, like road bikes, and maybe some cruiser style bikes that really didn't fit the need for our folks, but we helped find some other homes for those through various other charities like Bike Rescue And then we've got some global partners. We've donated adult bikes to them. So we really, even if we don't have a good recipient for some of those bigger and more technical bikes, we absolutely try to partner with some of our other friends and contacts in the bike business world to make sure those bikes don't go unused.
Yeah, well, that's great. So is there anything else that you might enlighten us about free bikes for kids that we haven't asked?
I think we've kind of covered it all. It's just, we're still growing, and I think as we get bigger and bigger, it's just really excited. And I think one of my favorite parts of it is when you see that 9-10-year-old. I remember I don't remember her name, but I remember she was all dressed in purple at the giveaway day.
Okay.
And she had mentioned that I believe it was her birthday.
Okay.
And she was there with her brother, and her brother was a little bummed because his bike had been stolen, and this young lady had never had a bike. And so I remember I was working with the brother to get him on a bike, and he just did lap after lap after lap in the parking lot. And then I think you were there that day.
I was there that day.
And then Jim Maskey was actually working with the young lady in purple, and she was just over the moon to be able to go to this set of bikes that were there waiting for the kids and be like, I like that purple bike. And to see her get her helmet and get the bike fit and see how to test ride it and say, hey, this is your bike. It was just an amazing feeling, and that's what it's all about. And they have a way to get to school. They have a way to hang out with their friends. They have a lifelong skill that they have learned that they may continue to ride, whether they to school, in high school and college. Maybe they're going to commute to work. Maybe they're going to ride that bike for fitness, or use it to do charity events like the Ride of Silence and some of those other things. That it's just such a rewarding thing to see the freedom and responsibility that a bike can bring to a young person.
Well, I think one of the things that was one of the biggest paybacks when I was there on the donation day was helping some kids get their helmet on right, getting the bike sized for them, adjusting the seat properly for them, and then seeing them ride for the first time and the smiles that they had on their face. That was, to me, the payback. That's the payback.
Yeah, and to do that and see that happen, 490 sometimes that day, it was just, how can you not enjoy that? And I'm super excited to be a part of that, and I'm really looking forward to this year's collection day. And I'm looking forward to having some grease under my fingernails from working on bikes, and and it's a great way to meet other people. I've met so many cool volunteers, people that I would not have met otherwise, and make some really good connections with folks in the community who just happen to share that love of bicycles and that willingness to help out some kids. Yeah.
No, I certainly enjoyed my experience working there, just volunteering. I mean, I came in maybe once, maybe twice a week or whatever to, just do some wrenching, as it's called, on the bikes, changing tires and tubes and putting on rim tape, because, some of these bikes that come in, they've been sitting around for a while and the tires are bad, and you start taking them off and you realize, well, it needs more than just a new tube in there and a new tire. You got to put rim tape on there to keep the spokes from poking through into the tubes and other stuff. So I mean, and then adjusting the derailleurs and making sure it's shifting well and that it's turning well, bottom brackets that are working well, all these different things that are on a bike. You just want to make sure that you have a good experience for the kids when they get their bike.
Yeah, and I don't know how many kids we had, even though the bikes were donated and repurposed in that sense. These kids are like, wow, I've never had a bike that I know fits me, or that has shifters, so I can not have to, I live in a neighborhood full of hills, to have somebody get their first shifter bike, or for somebody who's like, I've always wanted a blue bike that looks like a motorcycle. So really being able to, with the amount of bikes that we had, really have that child be able to pick out the one that really fits them the best. Just what a great win. And
that's super.
And a lot of those bikes, they just needed a little bit of love. They've been sitting for a while,
That's
or
true.
Somebody maybe didn't know, something happened on the bike and they didn't know where to go or how to fix it. We're teaching skills to people now, so there's more people in the community that can help with that, because we know that.
So let's recap a little bit. about free bikes for kids. You've got a donation day that's coming up in October, and
Yep.
that's
October 14th. It's a Saturday. We'll have more information once we solidify times and exactly the drop-off locations, which we know Hy-Vee will be partnering with us this year.
and signing up. People can go to the website.
Yeah.
FB4KOmaha.org.
Yes, because there's multiple chapters. Make sure you put the Omaha, and then on our webpage there'll be, here's information if you want to donate a bike, here's information if you want to volunteer to help, and here's information if you are associated with a charity who wants to receive bikes.
Okay, so it's got all those there.
Yep.
And so the volunteers that you're looking for, obviously the first thing would be the donation day.
Donation day for sure, yes, having enough people there just to get bikes out of cars, and we have obviously a tax.
And how much time would somebody have to donate?
As much as you can. You can come for an hour, you can come for the whole day. Typically, we try to keep that donation time frame to like 4 to 6 hours, so it's not an all-day thing. We want it to be multiple sites for a few hours at each site, and then we believe we're going to look at somewhere late morning into the mid-afternoon. We've purposely picked a day where there's no Nebraska game because we don't want people to have to make that choice because we know how important that is. So that was a bit of a challenge. So that donation day, the collection day is a big one. And
yeah, so I mean, you're going to need people to help move the bikes around. You have somebody moving them, but then at the collection, at the drop-off site, or I shouldn't say that, at the the Trick Store West, where
right now, and that's right now going to be our primary spot. We do have a plan. If we end up just inundated with bikes that won't fit, we'll move some.
Yeah.
Again, these are the things we're working
on.
So
I mean, that day there's going to be a lot of needs. So if there's if you can volunteer to help out, they'll find a place for you.
We will absolutely find a place for you. Make it convenient, and we typically have snacks and beverages for you. And then beyond that.
Shirt.
Yeah, we'll do some shirts, which I forget how comfortable this one is. Haven't worn it in a minute. Yeah. And then, from that October to mid-December, just again, super flexible. If you have a couple hours.
People to clean, people to clean, wrench, work on bikes, whatever.
People to sort bikes, people to maybe, hey, I'm going to move bikes, around, 2 blocks away, or to a storage facility if we need to, but mostly it's cleaning and doing just light bicycle repairs. And again, we're going to have lots of people. We've got all the tools, we've got the workstations, we've got you don't have to bring anything, just yourself. We'll have all of those things for you. And then on the giveaway day, just some extra people just to check folks in and make sure. And we're going to do some different things this year. Last year was a little chaotic, so we're going to space the pickups a little bit better. We're going to have, one of the things we're looking at doing is, so if say Ironhawks is coming for their 30 bikes, we're going to have their 30 bikes sitting out so that, it's last year we had people.
Well, that sounds exciting. And so if anybody is looking to donate a bike or get a bike or work, volunteer, freebikesforkidsomaha.org. I encourage you to go out there, and I just want to remind everybody to pedal on.